Today, inflation is soaring around the globe. Why? But first, why does it matter? Well, because inflation creates misery for millions. But even worse, central banks raise interest rates to counter inflation. And the cure is worse than the disease. High interest rates crash the economy, cause unemployment on large scale, and bring misery to the masses. The heart of the matter is the fact that economists don't understand inflation. Belief in monetarism, that money doesn't matter, is widespread. This means that money only affects prices and has no effects on the real economy. Because this theory doesn't work very well in practice, one of the heads of the Federal Reserve said that we do not currently have a working theory of inflation. The blame for why economists don't understand inflation can be placed squarely on the shoulders of Milton Friedman, who said that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. This is dead wrong, but it's widely believed. In fact, there are two types of inflation: demand pull, which is caused by lots of money chasing few goods, and that is the type that monetarists think about. But there's also cost push inflation caused by increasing costs. Because of their failure to understand money and banking, economists were baffled by the global financial crisis. The Queen of England went to the London School of Economics to ask why did no one see it coming, but the economist had no answer for her. As global inflation soars, economists, blindfolded by Friedman's theories, search for the monetary causes but don't find them because monetary policy is not expansionary currently. But since Friedman said that inflation must be due to monetary causes, they look around and they find it. They say that, after the Great Recession, there was a hugely expansionary monetary policy, and there was similarly expansionary monetary policy in the COVID era. So the chickens are coming home to roost. And bravo, Friedman. He shows us the way to understand today's inflation. This theory is absurd and ridiculous. Right after the global financial crisis, Ben Bernanke did a vastly expansionary monetary policy following Friedman's prescriptions. This did not cause any inflation, much to the surprise of top ranking economists. Friedman thought that the Great Depression had been caused by insufficiently expansionary policy by the central banks at that time. And Ben Bernanke thought that he would be able to prevent the Great Recession by following this policy of quantitative easing. But this failed completely, proving that Friedman was wrong about this. The Great Recession, which followed 2008, was of similar or worse uh, effect than the Great Depression of 1929. So, why do we have soaring inflation around the globe today? It's not due to monetary causes, it's not due to money and interest, but due to rising costs. And why did costs rise? Well, there was a huge drop in demand in the COVID era, and the global supply chains were destroyed. When the demand picked up back to pre COVID levels, the producers had to find alternative, more expensive suppliers. And the Ukraine war has caused massively increase in energy prices. Energy prices affect all costs, not just the production of goods, but the transportation of goods, taking them from the producer to the market. Also, the US-China trade wars have increased cost of production. So there is a large number of shocks, high increases in costs which have occurred recently, and that is the source for the global inflation today. Since this is so easy to understand, the question arises, why are economists blind to the role of money? Surely they would be the best place to understand this. This comes initially from a simple minded theory of classical economics that if you have a fixed amount of goods and you double the amount of money, then the prices will double. And so basically it means that the money does not affect the production of goods, it only affects the prices. But what if this is false, as Keynes discovered? What if you double the money and this leads to a doubling of the quantity of goods? Then there will be no effect on prices, even though you have doubled the quantity of money. Keynesian economics is based on this fundamental insight, which differed from the classical economists, that when you have high unemployment and you create a lot of money, it doesn't lead to inflation, it leads to more jobs for more people. So basically, Keynes recommended the use of fiscal policy, that is, government creation of jobs, or monetary policy, creation of money to support creation of jobs. The central difference between Keynes and Friedman is that Keynes argued that governments need to intervene in markets to create full employment, whereas Friedman says that markets automatically create full employment. Friedman is obviously wrong. We see unemployment all the time, and Keynes is obviously right. With policy, you can eliminate this unemployment. So why do Chicago school economists, followers of Friedman, insist on these absurd theories? Looking at this graph carefully provides the answer to that question. After the Great Depression, which was caused by an enormous increase in the wealth to the top 1%, the Keynesian policies reversed this concentration of wealth and led to full employment, which led to prosperity for the masses, but a declining share of wealth for the elite 1%. Since they could not tolerate this decline in power, they took steps to reverse this. And basically, monetarist era starts with Reagan Thatcher working under the influence of Friedman's monetary policy. And they reversed this prosperity and changed the wealth inequality, again in the favor of the elite top 1%. Another picture which confirms the story is the picture which shows the labor productivity, how much the laborers produce, which has been increasing constantly. That's the black line. But the share of money received by laborers, which followed it up to 1970s, suddenly becomes flat. So now the productivity is increasing, wealth is increasing, but it's all going to the top 1%, and the laborers are not getting any share of this. So why is this? That's because of the monetarist ideology, which economic theory currently is. So we can wrap up this topic with a few concluding remarks. Modern monetary theory is the heir to Keynesian intellectual legacy and makes substantial advances over Keynes. The key recommendation of modern monetary theory is the job guarantee program, that everyone who wants to work should be provided with a productive job. So the monetarists ask, where will the money come from? The answer is the government can create the money. But they ask, won't it cause inflation? No, because the extra money will be offset by the amount of output which is created by the employed workers. So achieving full employment is the key to running a prosperous economy.